Mario. We are truly grateful to have today a very, very unique guest with us in studio. Darren and I, we have opportunity interviewing every week all different entrepreneurs who doesn't have this glittery Hollywood, flashy websites and, be presented in the public, but they are unsung business heroes. One of them today is with us, and you'll be surprised. I was chasing some similar portfolio to run on my own, so he can help me maybe to understand better that industry. Ladies and gentlemen, with us in studio, it is Lindsay Munns. Welcome, Lindsay.
Thank you very much, Mario.
Yeah, well, look, I just try to understand your Adapt business. Is that the name of your company?
As much as we love businesses, we don't like to adopt them. It's actually Adept, A-D-E-P-T.
My English not good. Darren should read that one. So it's Adept business.
Adept business. But how did you start adapting in business?
Well, look, it's an interesting story. Like everyone's business story is always...
Cast us back. We love to hear how people start in their businesses because it gives a lot of key tips to
possibly
others.
From age 5. Little Lindsay, 5 years old.
Well, it's funny. When I was a young 8-year-old, no, actually even 7-year-old, I used to get up every morning when my father got up and put his tie on. I'd put a little mini tie on. My neighbour used to make them up for me. And so I think from that early time that the die was cast.
So do you believe that that our parents actually inset in us these values of the life? Like you said, your father goes to work, but you put a tie. So he was your role example, maybe, or
look, it's an interesting sort of thought that what you sort of when you're small, when you're taking information in. I spent a lot of time hanging out in a business and in an office, so I probably did have that sort of thought in the back of my mind.
So when you start wearing your own tie. No neighbors making. When was at that age?
Well, of course, I'd only wear it around the house because I didn't want to sort of get picked on when I went out to school or anything like that.
Okay. So you grew up in Australia. Then, your first experience with the business was when?
Well, look, for me in business, when I went through, even through high school and everything else, I had it in my mind I wanted to be a lawyer. That was my big thing. So
May I ask you why?
I'd like to know why. No, I think those people around me sort of wanted me maybe thought that might be a calling for me, and somehow I really thought that was the thing I was going to do. So all through high school, that's what I was working towards. And it was actually, and this theme of serendipity comes up a lot in my career, where I didn't get into the law course I wanted to at the end of high school. I ended up taking a business course as a fill for a year, and then I was going to get back into law. But I actually really enjoyed business.
Look, may I read something, Darren, just quickly from the Lindsay resume, which was kindly supplied by Lindsay. I need to mention this company. So why you want to elicit this interview, it's very, very important. As I always mentioned, there's a people coming in this studio who are truly unsung business heroes. And we see them every day on the street, but we don't know what they do, how they're operating, what is their modus operandi. However, Lindsay Munns has a impeccable track record. He was between 2013 and 2015 CEO of Anytime Fitness Australia, leading through a period of rapid growth and internal development. In that 2-year period, it moved from third to overtake FF Fitness as the #1 fitness chain in Australia, with a store growth of 39% and 101% revenue growth, with 406 clubs operating and 390,000 active members by July 2015. That is very staggering, very, very impressive results. That's the reason why I'm saying to our listeners, they need to listen interview with you today later on the podcast. So when you continuing, what was your first business you've been in?
Look, interestingly enough, without going through the entire story, I when I went from not being a lawyer to doing business, I ended up working in the corporate sort of world, and I thought I was going to be in business and banking and all of those things.
Yes.
And I had my 2 years over in London working holidays, people do, and got some great experience over there. Thought I'd come back into Australia and land myself a really good banking role. And I arrived
from lawyer to the banks now.
And I arrived in Melbourne in 1991. Which, for anyone who knows the economics at the time, that was not a good place to be in Melbourne because we were right in the middle of the recession.
The recession, I heard that was recession 90-something in Australia,
And Melbourne always gets things worse, apparently.
No, I'm not going to say that because I do have some very favourite Melbourne people in my life.
Yes.
But Melbourne at that time was not a great place to actually get a job. So I found myself actually needing to get out there and create a business for myself.
And
my first business was actually buying into a bookkeeping franchise.
Okay, on that note, won't you be afraid to start your own business or buy the franchise? Did you have any doubts in yourself? Will I be successful? Will this work for me, particularly mid recession, which we are right now? So you're the perfect man for this perfect radio show. So yes, please share with us.
Look, it's very interesting you say that. That the idea that somehow you could just suddenly create something when everyone else feels like they're shutting things up and whatever else, that you can really get caught into that negative cycle of what that is. I was fortunate that I had someone that I had met through business down there who actually initially came into the business together with me.
Mm-hmm.
And whilst he didn't play a real practical role, it gave me the confidence. So the first thing was the confidence and the belief that, yeah, I could do this. And when I was actually out there doing the things you need to do, I actually found I could do a lot more than I, originally thought.
Yeah.
And what became a bit of the theme of what I've done in my career really is that I found that I was actually really good at actually helping enable other people to build their business. I have never sought to be the person in the spotlight at the front, but I've always found ways where I can actually help other people grow their business, deliver their business or whatever else.
Do you mind to ask you, how did you feel that, to share with us and our listeners, how did you felt you can share your knowledge, experience with other people around you? Did they come to you and say like, hi Lindsay, can you help with this and that? Or did you observe on the side and you saw like this person can do better? Or how that was a process working? If you can share with our listeners, please.
Look, certainly. Look, I certainly did a lot of business study over my time. So I've done undergraduate business degree. I've done my master's business degree. So I've certainly learnt and taken on formal knowledge. I've also been in many different situations, so I've observed a lot of things across different industries and whatnot. So I've built up that basis. One of the things when I actually started branching out and doing the business coaching actually as a process, not just as that's what I called myself, it was a learned process. And I learned some very valuable processes and techniques in that time that allowed me to actually do what I would call is actually look and operate contextually in a situation.
Can you elaborate this?
I was just going to summarise it and throw it back to you.
Please
Lindsay.
throw back to the Lindsay.
Yes, it seems to be from you and your eyes and your passion that you love learning, and you actually have a passion for sharing your learnings with others to help them learn and succeed.
Look, that's actually a good observation because my mother was a school teacher, and actually, when I was quite young, I used to love nothing better than hanging out, when I'd finished school around her class and sort of watch that teaching process. So in one way, I always, my role models, like a lot of people, especially in primary school, were my teachers. And I like that idea of really helping develop people. So there is a passion there around helping to teach. But there's also that piece around actually, to me, it comes out of really trying to understand people.
So do you believe that's a key ingredient to understand the people?
Look, it really is. I think, we often, when we're seeking help from someone, we try to jump to, we want the answer from someone. And that can be, that can kind of have a short-term benefit for us. Someone might happen to know something and we can put that in place straight away. But the true benefit of getting someone to work with you in your business, and what I try to do, is actually help build that capability within yourself to find the answers.
May I ask you one personal question? This is my Rebecca's asked question. Are you afraid or shy, or you reserved to share your knowledge with somebody who can't, not just afford you, but doesn't have nowhere to go to come to you? So like, Lindsay, I would like to ask a question. Would you refuse that person to answer?
No. I
see. That's the difference. You said something very interesting. Darren was. My personal experience, when I started my business, like there's so many business coaches, lifestyle coaches, but the fundamental question nobody asked me, who are you, what your business does, but straight away was, I can help you. I'm like, what do you mean help me? You don't even know, was this with me. So we'll leave on that note. We take a short break. You're listening live, 90.5 Business Insights with Mario Darren with us today in studio. It's true, the master of work. Lindsay Munns from Adept Business. We come back, short break. Moon, yes, something.
20 minutes past 1, live 90.5 Business Insights with Mario Darren.
And we're already 20 minutes into the second part of our radio show, Business Insights with Darren and Mario, with a truly amazing guest in studio, Lindsay Munns. As always mentioning this, and I'd like to share with you that our guests are true and some business heroes with an exclusively awesome track record. They're not afraid to say the failures, obstacles, but at the end of the day, the track record proves that they are persistence, knowledge, and experience actually help all our listeners and all of you who are seeking the help to excel in their life, privately and in business. So Lindsay Munns today, which, as I said, like, is a truly unique opportunity to have somebody with that track record with us in the studio. And he doesn't say he's a business coach. He's somebody who's going to make you very profitable. Why is that? Because if you go on a website, Facebook page, Business Insights with Mario and Darren, you can see the very impeccable and very, very awesome track record of our guest, Lindsay Munns. So Lindsay, like, you decide to one day to help people and, observe, you collected your knowledge, you go to university. Now, let's go more practical things. And, there's a lot of gurus there on the market. There's a lot of people who would give us tips, advice. My first question would be a very practical question. People have a desire to start a business, but they fail. How do you identify problems that someone's going to fail and how you help them?
Look, it's an interesting question because, firstly, it's like, what is actually failure? Because, a lot of people will actually say you need to actually try things and things not to work to really learn and develop. So,
okay, that's interesting. Failure is allowed.
Yeah, you have to have that passion behind what you're doing that will actually take you through and help you persevere. Now, there's always a very important question you have to take is whether you're at a point in your business where you really just need to accept that this is not going to work and maybe take another track, or whether it's really a pivot point to, I need to try something differently, but I need to keep moving forward.
That's interesting. What we say the pivot moment, how do they identify on their own? Like, how do you identify for somebody when somebody comes to you? I say for my example, I ran the business for 3 years and I was living on my wife's credit card, corporate credit card. She almost been sacked, like pay me virtual office, this and that. But the point is, I wanted to continue because I didn't want to go back in corporate world because I knew that I've been shafted there. There's many reasons, but the bottom line is, how do you identify somebody? It's a pivot moment or to stop. What was the triggers or what's the indicators you see in that moment?
Well, firstly, I'd say for the individual, it's often very hard to see that for yourself. So that's one of the reasons you seek outside expertise.
Sorry, say again. You're seeking what?
Outside expertise, like someone like myself or a coach or an advisor, but someone who can actually help you bring awareness to your situation. Because when we're in that situation ourselves, it's sometimes hard to see outside of our box that we're in.
Yeah, look, I had that one that all know my ideas are best ideas. But why we have that belief that everything what we do, it's the best, we don't seek the help of a professional like yourself?
Look, it's a tricky thing because sometimes we just don't know how to engage other people. Like, how do we ask for help, but also what's the right sort of help? And again, sometimes, we speak to people who say, oh, look, I've got the solution for you. So they come straight in and start telling you what you should be doing. And that often doesn't feel right as well. It's kind of like, well, hang on, that's not what I was trying to do here.
Yes.
I believe it might work for you, but will that belief work for me? So that piece in terms of what stops people from seeking help sometimes or actually really using it is the right sort of someone who can come in and actually listen and understand the situation firstly and ask the right questions.
Interesting. That Lindsay says, you must come and listen and understand situation. And I never heard that before because everybody offers solution. Everybody will offer. My experience, again, this is Mario Becker's experience. The business coaches I met, everybody has solution. I never heard my problem. And that for me was frustrating. It's like, how do you know what my problems are? I'm running investigative company. I'm not running IT company, but maybe applying some methods from previous clients on a type of business. You agree, Darren?
I do definitely agree. I love listening to people and love working out what I have to offer them. Because there's two ways. And when I was really techie based and whatever, and Lindsay may agree with this as well, you think, yeah, I can create you the best solution and you can go away and run with it. If they don't know how to use the solutions, or it's not the solution for them, or they can't get right into, I don't know, Excel or a CRM or things like that, it could be the worst thing for them. And the other thing, you're just creating expectation that you may do the work for them. And if that's not what you want to do, so myself, and it's not, then you're in like this double bind of you give them the wrong help because now they're dependent on you and they have not learned.
So, Lindsay, one tip only for everybody who runs the business, want to start a business, or hits the obstacles. What would be your tip?
Look, it is very much around, firstly, looking in your environment, who can actually help you as a sounding board, or how do you actually stop and get outside of the day-to-day thinking that you're actually in? Because quite often when you've hit a problem, it's like you're cycling down into that problem. And, you know, the first step might be literally just actually speaking to a friend or a spouse or someone else, but it's not about seeking an answer. And quite often that's the problem. Sometimes when we're asked from the outside, we try to come in with an answer. I don't know how many times, you know, someone might have tried that.
Can you share more with this? We're looking for the answer. Can you share more? Yes, Darren?
Yeah, I was just thinking it's like how you go to the doctor, sorry, get me right there, and you're looking for a pill.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's like that in business as well, no doubt, Lindsay.
It is absolutely like that. You know, sometimes we feel frustrated. You know, we go to the doctor, we think we know what's wrong, and they're taking a whole lot of time to get to that same point. But they know that their profession is about diagnosing and really understanding a situation rather than rushing to a solution. Now, in this world that I operate, sometimes people get quite frustrated and say, look, you obviously know the answer. Can you just get to the point?
We are not ready to listen, obviously. Like, I know myself, you know, like, or again, I must use myself for example, this conversation. Many times I don't want to hear the outside world. You know, I truly believe it was me, and till I didn't come to the point when I hit no walls but double walls, then I seek the help. And you know, I'm grateful I have somebody in my life who helps me with all this decision making. But you know, why we don't listening people like yourself? You know, like, you know, just really just a portion of your resume there in the fitness industry or there, you know, working. Why we don't want to listen?
Look, sometimes we won't listen if we don't feel we've been listened to in the first instance. Sometimes we feel a little bit like, well, unless that person's done exactly what I've done, what would they know? Mm-hmm. You know, I find, you know, that when we talked before, and Darren, you know, to your point around that idea of I know a solution for you, I often use the analogy of like the coral reef solution. You go to the coral reef, the Great Barrier Reef, and you see the coral down there. It's beautiful, looks spectacular in the water and everything else. You think that coral is just doing such a great job. So, and you don't do this anymore, but you pull off a piece of the coral and you take it home and you put it on your mantelpiece.
Yeah.
Does that coral come to life on your mantelpiece? It's just a piece of white rock.
Yes.
Because out of the context where that was the right piece, it doesn't play a role. And sometimes we try to cherry pick solutions from somewhere else where that solution does work. But if it's not joined up, and what I mean by joined up is that you, as the business owner, really need to believe in that solution. You need to have been part of helping create that solution. Because if it's just Mario's solution or Darren's solution, it doesn't, you know, it's very easy for me to give it a bit of a try and go, oh, it didn't work, you were wrong. So
that's interesting. Yeah.
You have to own part of that solution, and you have to be part of creating that solution.
Well, I'm thinking I better put that coral back in.
Did you picture that coral? It's like,
no, I wasn't specifically mentioning you.
Look, Darren is a very, very, you know, like very, you know, as you can see, very warm person. Like, you know, like it's so sweet, you know what I mean? But he's a criminal, you know what I mean? Hardcore. But let me before we go to the break. We're gonna talk about your next step in industry, which is fitness. I'm very curious. How did you turn this? Because that's a very interesting point I would like to discuss. Ladies and gentlemen, listening online 90.5 Business Insights with Mario and Darren, and our guest in studio, Lindsay Munns from Adept Business. I learned it. I read it very quick on English. It's Adept Business. And Darren and I will take a short break. Come back after the break and more conversations with Lindsay Munns with us in studio. Thank you for listening. Our live 90.5 Business Insights with Mario and Darren.
It's 25 minutes to 2 Alive 90.5 Business Insights with Mari and Darren.
Thank you to all listeners for tuning in on Alive 90.5 Business Insights with Darren and Mari, and now guest in studio, Lindsay Munns. Lindsay, before we take a short break, I asked you a question. We're going to talk about your next step. Even you don't want to go in corporate world, you ended in corporate world, and you landed in industry which you're not expert for sure, because I said, we spoke about this one. You went into fitness industry, and I read some excerpt from the resume, and not much, but you make it one brand better from other brand in Australia. There's two big fitness brands in Australia.
Yeah, and 100% growth increase in 2 years.
Yeah. How did you achieve this, and how did you land that job?
Well, look, it's interesting. So the first thing I'd actually say is I am not an industry expert. I'm not an industry expert in any industry and in fitness or whatever else per se.
Yeah.
The skills I have and the ability I have is, and I used the word before about context.
Yeah.
And about the idea of what is actually contextually consistent across different industries, different businesses that actually create very similar problems for businesses that are in a growth. Because the truth of Anytime Fitness, it was absolutely already growing. Like, it wasn't me that helped grow that business. That business was actually on a path.
On a growth, yeah.
The struggle that they had was, how do we manage this growth? How do we keep control over a business that's just getting bigger and bigger all the time? It used to be where the owners knew everyone and had hired everyone in the business. They got to the point where they walk in there the next day and they didn't even know who these people were.
Okay.
And so the original passion and knowledge over, we know exactly what we're doing here, starts to dissipate. And so that struggle of between that point was not about creating the demand, because the demand was there. And there was literally a backlog of people waiting to either buy franchises or open them up. But what was the struggle was how to organisationally cater for that situation.
So it was a quick growth? That's what it is? Or
yeah, it's a function of quick growth. And one of the areas I really focus in is businesses that are actually going through that fast growth phase where the business is turning into something else. It's not what they, we start a business, we know all about it, we feel in control over stuff. When it starts to grow and grow quickly, it starts to feel outside of our control very quickly. And where do you get that skill and that knowledge of how to actually grow that next size business? You don't get it from having done what you do every day.
That's very interesting. And so, you come in a company, nobody doesn't know you. Did you sack somebody? Did you say you're fired, Darren?
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump. That's what it's like. So how these things works when you walk somewhere and they bring somebody who's an expert in building the companies, building the brand, but doesn't have the experience like in fitness industry. Did you face any frictions or obstacles? Did somebody gives you the look, you don't know how much reps you need to do it, something like this?
Yeah. Look, one of the key principles I use when I'm working with businesses anyways, I'm very clear about creating an understanding of what the different areas of the business are.
Yeah.
We use a very simple model, which is called red, blue, black. And it's just about understanding that the blue is the real day-to-day, the cut and thrust, the sales, all the operational activity that goes on. The red is the support activity, the accounting, the legal, the premises, the administration, all of that. And this black area is what we call strategy, but strategy being a word that everyone uses for lots of different things.
Yes.
But it's actually how to manage the business as you want it to be next year. Not how you're getting, reaching sales results this week, this quarter, this month. It's building the business as it needs to be going forward. Now, in this situation, the role I came into was really to assist with that moving forward. But we needed to help the business, the day-to-day business, function more efficiently. So
interesting, yeah. I was thinking myself, I'm the member of the Anytime Fitness, and they're I was thinking myself, you just swipe the card, that's it, you just walk in, but it doesn't look that way, Darren. Every business thinks, business owner, including myself, we have the strategies, but actually, I must say that my horizon is let's go say 14 days from today, no further. And, sometimes I think myself wow, I should think what's going to happen next year or something like this, but You see, many business owners, they don't know that model.
I was just thinking, Mario, thanks for the chance to jump in here, but there's many thoughts with that black, blue and red, and I'd like to put it to Lindsay now. Where do you like working best? So talking about that fitness enterprise, you're saying you're working a lot in the red. Is that only where you work, or do you work everywhere else as well?
No, actually, my role was more in the black area.
The black, sorry. Sorry, I got that wrong. Yeah, strategy, yes.
And look, that is, to answer the question, that is much more my passion, okay?
And that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
So what is your passion, and where do you like working best? And a question I was going to say, and now this is the question, what is your perfect client?
Okay, well, the best way to describe my perfect client is it's a business that's grown. It's got its runs on the board, but it's actually starting to get the point where the nature of the business is having to change because of the scale that it's got to. The owner, the founder, who to that point has been able to manage everything quite well, is suddenly like, hang on, I'm having to do a whole new skill set. I'm no longer, they often say, I'm no longer on the tools. I'm now actually managing people and systems.
So in that situation, you're working with the owner, the founder,
Yep.
or executive team. Give us a bit of an example of what you might do if you're coming into that sort of business.
Look, it's very much, and I actually define it as my ideal client is a founder-led business. So the founder, the owner, is still the key person there in the business, because there is a lot that sits there that is around the culture of the business, not just about the commercial part of things. And so working with that owner is a key part of what I do, because some of the way of moving forward is actually giving the owner the courage and the know-how and the security to let go of things and delegate and let others come in.
That's very interesting. Yeah. I just got a question now about replying somebody. He asked me. So there's a lot of I don't know how to say mystery. When the people start a business and they're getting tips and advice from internet. Would you suggest, this particular question comes from one of the listeners on Facebook, would you suggest somebody takes the tips and advice from the internet or from the real person like yourself? No bull, just tell me. And what's the difference if that comes to you or not going to the internet?
Well, the first way of answering that is that, do you want to fish or do you want to learn how to fish? So that
I don't know that one. What do you mean fish? No, I don't know. What does that mean?
Well, Darren,
I could answer, but I think I want to hear it from Lindsay.
Yeah, well, effectively, it's the old story of actually, I can actually either give you a fish, if that's what you actually wanted, or I can teach you to fish. And if I teach you to fish, you can catch as many fish as you want to. If you just take that one fish from me, then you've got one fish, and tomorrow you're hungry.
Interesting.
Right. So
that's interesting.
Give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime.
Yeah, I don't like seafood anyway, but I will stick with something else. We take a short break. You're listening live 90.5 Business Insights with Mario and Darren, and now guest in studio, Lindsay Munns from Adapt Business. Stay tuned. You'll be glad you did it.
Minutes to 2, live 90.5 Business Insights with Mario and Darren.
And with us in studio, the truly unique, and we are very privileged, honored having him in the studio with us, Lindsay Munns from the Adapt. Darren, what again? It's like
get it right. Adapt business.
Business here. So, look, I try to. It's so confusing for me. So that's the reason why I'm not successful like a Lindsay. So, Lindsay, we spoke before we go on a break about strategies. What the strategies are, and can you explain the modus operandi and how do you apply them in the growth of your clients?
Yeah, look, strategy is one of those jargon words that gets thrown around all the time. But effectively, when I'm talking about working in the strategy or the strategic part of the business, as I said before, it's about actually what do we want to create next year? What do we want to create moving forward? So in the blue area, in the operational, you're trying to do things more efficiently. You're trying to just simply get things done better. But strategically, it's about actually trying to find out to do better things. It's actually what do we want to be doing differently? How do we move the business and look at the business model going forward? And a big area for people in that at the moment is around, we hear that digital transformation piece. And it's like, that just sounds so onerous, I've got to learn how to do this now, have I? But effectively, there's a couple of areas in digital transformation. One area is about actually, the operational and the procedure things that you actually do, and that internal. Another part is actually around how your customer experience, everything you have on social media and all those things. The third area, which often people don't even look at, is actually what digital models or what ways can you take your business and digitize things moving forward. And that sometimes, when we see what some businesses have done at the other end and go, oh, that was pretty obvious. Yet it's not obvious if we're not actually looking in the right places.
I think you've just opened up a chestnut where we could talk for hours on digital transformation, and you'd get me going. Because
for that reason, I want to invite Lindsay in a few weeks' time to come back again, but for 2 hours, so I can talk about this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what did you say? Chestnut?
A chestnut.
Because
they're hard to crack. But when you crack them, you kind of get a lovely nut.
Oh, okay.
I love the kernel.
I was thinking David Jones, the
kernel.
locker.
There I'm talking about Linux as well.
Okay.
Now
okay. So Lindsay, how do you see transformation businesses now, from COVID-19, during the COVID-19? Because we can't talk about post-COVID. I just, when people start talking about post-COVID or this and that, there is no infinity line when it's going to end, how it's going to end, what's going to be. But how do you help the businesses right now through the COVID, the crisis? Because it is crisis, certainly it's crisis. Australia, it's an island nation, and we depending a lot on logistics and close borders amongst the state. How do you help these people to go through these obstacles and hurdles right now?
Yeah, look, there's no doubt that there's some structural things that have happened in that you cannot deny that they are business destroyers or they're things that severely limit business.
Yeah.
But the other piece is that people are still buying things, people are still needing things, people still have wants and needs.
Yes.
And there's never a better time to innovate in a business than when some structural change
you can help that way to companies to do this.
Some of the most successful businesses, when you look back, they were actually founded in these sort of times. Maybe not as extreme as COVID, but in recessions, if you actually go back and track them, some of our most successful businesses, that's when they started. And they started because even though it was doom and gloom, there was an unmet need, and they found a way to answer that.
Why so calm? I was expecting gonna, smack with the face the desk in front of us, no, it cannot be done. But this is the reason why people should call you, because you were very calm, very positive, and that's what makes you unique and gives you that integrity that people should come to you during the COVID, because COVID, no doubt, it makes us all over the place. And do you watching a lot of news?
Yes, to a degree.
Why don't you watch much more news?
Because sometimes when you hear the same story too many times, you're actually losing that thought of actually saying, okay, so what's sitting behind that? And so just hearing the reinforced negative, you have to be aware of the facts, don't get me wrong, but you also have to allow yourself the chance to say that, but that's not the whole story.
Would you be using this with your clients as well? So concentrate on this, not just the news?
You need to allow yourself to be open to the other possibilities that exist at any time.
Well. Yes, Darren. You want to do what? Break?
We're running out of time.
No. Time is on our side.
Yeah, we maybe have the time, but yes, you have been listening to Business Insights with Mario and Darren, and I'm just going to take the little opportunity to talk about how our listeners can get in contact with Lindsay.
I don't know. I can't even spell the name of his business. And
Adept.
Okay.
You can adopt Adept Business for your business. There you go. Strategic and business transformation expert, board advisor, chief executive, and business coach, Lindsay Munns of Adept Business.
The man with the results.
The results indeed. And how can people get in touch with you today?
Well, look, there is a website. So my website is at adeptbiz, B-I-Z,
Why? Look at me.
adeptbiz.com. Thank you.
And you can also find me on LinkedIn. And here's the thing. My name, Lindsay Munns, is a very unique name. So if you search me, you will probably find the right Lindsay Munns fairly early.
Well, that was Lindsay Munns, ladies and gentlemen, from adeptbusiness.biz. Thank you, Lindsay, for being our guest today. Hopefully you're going to accept our invitation in 5 weeks' time. We're going to send you another invitation for 2 hours session. We're going to talking about David Jones Locker, No.
Digital transformation
Chestnut.
and everything else
Chestnut,
about your
yes,
business
yeah.
to the chestnut.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And for all our listeners, please tune in today on our website alive905.com.au. Search under the podcast Business Insights with Mario and Darren. There is an interview with Lindsay Munns and the contact details. And I'm imploring you and asking you nicely, click at that link, listen to this interview, contact Lindsay Munns. Lindsay, thank you one more time for being our guest today, and we'll see you in a couple weeks' time.
Thank you so much, Mario. And
You're welcome, mate.